Yes, we are live. Welcome back, my dear friends. This is episode number 67 in Zero Point Healing Show. And in this particular show, we are going to discuss about how we can transform our subconscious beliefs and transform our lives. And I have with me today amazing PSYCH-K Facilitator. So before I move on to him, just a short intro about me and about Zero Point Healing in general. So I am certified in multiple different holistic healing modalities, and PSYCH-K has been always something in my to-do list, and I'm very soon looking forward to getting certified in PSYCH-K as well. But I have been certified in multiple other modalities, and through my journey I found different modalities, how it opened me up into different new possibilities in my life. And it kind of helped me move on to the next step in my life. And I found that every healing modality has its own power to it, its own key, so to speak, that it would give us to open a different door of our lives. So through that, I think that's what inspired me to create this kind of a platform, which I call the zeropointhealing.com. It is a web directory of all types of holistic healing modalities and practitioners and instructors and facilitators and healers, which I would like to call as the new age transformation, rather than depending upon the conventional medicine system or conventional therapies. In this beautiful 21st century has given us amazingly gifted uh, talented people who have invented, who have created so many different modalities that helps us change ourselves. And changing ourselves at the end of the day changes our reality, because that's how the reality is created in the first place. So zeropointhealing.com, as I said, it's a web directory. And if you are interested, if you are looking for solutions to your challenges that you might be facing in your life, regardless of whether it is a financial life or is it the health, or it can be relationships, it can be emotional health, regardless of which area of your life, these amazing facilitators and healers registered on Zero Point Healing will be able to help you. And you can take a look at amazing interviews that we have done, and what these brilliant, amazing healers and facilitators have, the type of tools that they have can help you discover yourself. So that's the journey of it all. So that's about Zero Point Healing. And if you are a healer or facilitator yourself of any holistic healing modality, you can register yourself at zeropointhealing.com. And if you're interested in one such interview, you can contact me for that as well. All right, so now I'm moving on to my beautiful guest here. Welcome, Martinu. Thank you so much for coming to my show. It's a great honor, and I'm looking forward to everything that you have to share with us today. So let's get started with your journey. How is it that I see that you're a PSYCH-K facilitator? So tell us your journey in your life and how you found PSYCH-K, or maybe PSYCH-K found you. So tell us about that.
Okay. First, my background is not totally related to this. I'm in architecture, a master in architecture, second one in fine arts, and I'm working in medical advertising. How the hell does that have anything to do with this? Well, parallel to this, I've always been a spiritual seeker. And always interested in psychology. And on that double track, I came across yoga, transcendental meditation, the Forum, which used to be the S training and is now called the Landmark. I was a student of a shaman, a medicine man from the Lakota Indians, and he taught me medicine wheel teachings. I have been following Michael Harner, who has something called core shamanism and practice shamanism. Along this a very colorful journey, I've also been reading on Freud and Jung and been extremely fascinated by them. Along that journey, I came across a book by Bruce Lipton called Biology of Belief. And it's one of those serendipities in my life. At the end of the book, he recommends PSYCH-K as a way of actually sort of getting under the hood, getting into the subconscious and changing subconscious beliefs that are boycotting what we want in life. And I was instantly fascinated. So I was looking for somebody who is a practitioner in the New York area and found two of them, and went to one and had a session, and which was so intriguing to me that I said, I got to learn this. And before you know it, I took my first basic course, and that was in 2012, and I've been hooked ever since. I'm now sort of several courses later and many clients later, and the enthusiasm has not gone away at all, but the experience has grown, and the stories that I can tell about this, I would love to share.
Wow, that's so amazing. And yes, I think it is our own challenges that helps us discover such beautiful, as I said, it's like as if unlocking a new door to new possibilities, I would say. So now let's discuss about the title itself, Transforming Subconscious Beliefs. And you also spoke about the Biology of Beliefs book. So tell us in general about what these subconscious beliefs are, and how is it that when we change those beliefs that our reality is changing?
Okay, let's start like this. Would you agree that what your life looks like is to a very large degree the result of what you believe? For instance, if you believe that life is hard, you're going to prove it to yourself every day. Or if you believe that nobody loves you, you're going to collect proof for that. So the beginning, or one of the premises of PSYCH-K is that we are only 5% conscious and 95% subconscious. So if you want to change anything about your life, you need to get under the hood. You need to change the part that runs on automatic. That is the subconscious. How do we communicate with the subconscious? Well, in this particular case, we're using kinesiology, or the muscle resistance test, to communicate directly with the subconscious. And so in a form of a conversation, we're trying to find out what are the beliefs that are running your life and that are not supportive, but are actually sort of limiting you. Once we discover those, let's say, for instance, I'm not good enough. Then the question is, what would you rather believe? Well, you might say, well, I'm capable of doing anything I put my mind to. I said, well, that sounds great. Let's see what your subconscious says about that. And then we just sort of ask you to say with conviction this statement as if it were a new belief, and I will test kinesiologically what your subconscious response to that is. More likely than not, the subconscious is going to say, no way am I going to believe this. This would be nice, but not happening. Well, at which point we are actually including something called a whole brain technology. That sounds way more sophisticated than it is. It's a very simple technology that allows both brain hemispheres to work together and resolve conflict. At which point, then we will post-test, is the process complete? If we get permission that it's complete, then we will ask that specific statement, and this time it will test differently from before. It will test strong, as we say in kinesiology. That means you now have a new belief system. Hallelujah, it's time to celebrate. However, that is only part one. Part two is you now need to come up with an action that supports your new belief system, because it's very important that you translate that new belief into new habits, new routines, new actions. Often it is sufficient to just have a single action that sort of gets the ball rolling. And after that, other actions will follow that just sort of come automatically out of your new belief system. That's sort of in a rough form how this process works. And the results can be happening within almost instantly, or after hours, days, or even longer. But they will show up.
Yes, and I have done, as I said, PSYCH-K has been one of those modalities that are in my to-do list as soon as we get some freedom to move around. But I have personally done PSYCH-K sessions with multiple facilitators, and I could see how quickly reality literally changes. And I have seen I just finished a session 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., which was on basis of for the money blocks that I did. And about 7 to 8 p.m., I started getting notifications that I'm getting paid from my clients. So that first session was literally like, wow, things can change so quickly. So now let's get into the results. And can you tell us maybe a little bit about what kind of breakthroughs have been your clients seeing after the session?
Let me give you an example of one of the clients that approached me 3 years ago. And when he called me, by the way, this is something that can be done in person, but also over video and phone call. It's not even necessary that we meet in person. It is just as effective. So I have this client who called me from Baltimore and said, "You are my last hope. And I have gone through so many different attempts to change my life and nothing has worked. I don't know what else to do. I am so afraid that when I leave the house by myself that I get killed. So I cannot leave the house by myself. When I go into an elevator, I'm always bringing a bag full of tools in case the elevator gets stuck so I can find or climb myself out of the elevator." This is the level of neurosis that this particular client was going through. And immediately my heart sank. And I said, there's no way I can make a difference. And then I thought, wait a minute, that's just a very negative belief. Where is this coming from? He came to you, who chose you. Let's see what the universe has to offer. Who am I to say that there cannot be a difference made? So I started working with him on some of the underlying beliefs that he had. And within a short week, he called me in the middle of the week and said, something terrible happened. I said, what? And I already felt like, oh my God, I failed him completely. He said, I'm walking through the street and I'm cool as a cucumber and I haven't felt like this ever. I don't remember. And I said, well, you were experiencing normalcy for the first time in your life. He said, oh my God. So this was just the beginning of a journey. Let's put it this way. Less than a year later, he was traveling all by himself to Las Vegas by bus, had a wonderful time in Las Vegas, came back on bus, and the bus had broke down and everybody on the bus was freaking out because they weren't getting to their destination in time and what would happen and all that stuff. And who did they turn to? Him, because he was calm as a cucumber and was there to support everybody. Before you know it, he was like the star of the whole crew that was on that bus. And he came home and he told me this story as if nothing happened. And I said, do you realize how far you have come from when you started coming to me? It took that much of probing for me to even realize how much change had actually happened in him. I'm going to give you one other example, and I'm telling you, within those 3 years, he's calling me up every 2-3 weeks and telling me another story. And I said, I hope you keep a diary, because down the road, if you try to tell these stories, people will say, you're just making this up. This is not real. And I'm telling you, this is absolutely amazing. For instance, due to circumstances, he was forced to live out of his truck for a while. And he said, I can't do this anymore. I have to give up the truck because I can't afford the payments. What am I supposed to do? I would love so much to have an RV. Well, he saw an RV in somebody's backyard and approached the owner and see, is it for sale? The owner said, yeah, $6,000. He said, oh God, no, I don't have any $6,000. I cannot afford this. I'm living out of my truck. The owner hesitated a little bit and said, I tell you what, I'm going to give it to you for $600. The guy freaked out and said, oh my God, I know this is within reach. Let me see what I can do. He immediately called his mother, who said, I'm going to give you $600 so you can buy it. He rushed, get the money, came back to the guy. The guy said, I changed my mind. I'm giving it to you for $500. Next thing, he drives home this RV, and within the next 2 weeks is working on this RV to bring it up to this beyond standard, to his dream, so it becomes sort of this movable home that he can live in. So much so that he decided to actually sell it. Next thing he knows, he gets 60 phone calls for people that want to buy that particular vehicle, and sold it for 6,700, which then became the money for which he buys himself a 3-axle RV that now becomes his luxury home. This is all happening in bang, bang, bang in short period of time. So this is sort of one example. Let me give you another one, which I found particularly fascinating. Somebody came to me because he was pretty desperate. And after a conversation, we found out that he had 2 very devastating belief systems. The first one was that as long as, the belief systems were based on his excessive need for safety. So safety to him meant as long as I own something, it can be taken away from me. And this, by the way, is a subconscious belief, because if you make this conscious, you real quickly go like, this can't possibly be true. Well, he acted it out. He said, as long as I own something, it can be taken from me, therefore I'm not safe. So therefore, he made at some point pretty good money in real estate. And it took him a few months to reinvest that money in such a bad way that it was lost in no time. And he thought it was bad luck and circumstances, or maybe he didn't have the talent, and he blamed all kinds of things other than this belief system. He also got rid of friends. He was about to lose his apartment. He was really at the end of the road. Furthermore, he had another belief system that says the future is nothing but an extrapolation of the past. So, in other words, there's nothing new that could ever happen to his life. Whatever the pattern was will continue to repeat forever. What a nightmare. I said, you need to learn to experience something new. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's something which you allow to be without immediately categorizing as something that's familiar to you. And I'm having a suggestion for you. Go into a park and start talking to trees, and let trees talk to you. He said, how the hell am I talking to trees? I said, well, trees do not talk in English. They talk in tree. So find out how the trees speak to you. I'm not going to tell you, because they might speak to you differently than they speak to me. So he went into a park and he came back to me and told me a story. He had seen a tree stump that looked dead. And he approached it, and as he came closer, he saw it was full of tiny little branches that came off the side, and they were full of buds that were about to break open. He walked away from that stump, and within half an hour, remembered a vacation he had had in Germany that made him so happy that for the rest of the day, he was in a good mood like he hadn't been in weeks. He told me that story and did not make the connection between his experience of that tree and his memory of vacations. I said, do you realize that tree is you? You perceived yourself as dead, and then you look closer and you see there's full of life there that is about to break open. And shortly afterwards, you have this transformation of this memory when you were fully alive and engaged, and it came back to you, and you were feeding off it for the whole rest of that day. So those are the kinds of things that can happen. I can tell you more stories on and on like this. Money stories, for instance, that I have, since a lot of people have money issues, I had one, and I asked a facilitator to help me with that. She said, let's do a simple test. Let's put, what's the largest money bill that you have in your wallet? I said it was $20. Put it on the table and look at it, and we're just gonna test. So I looked at it, she tested, and it tested weak, which means I have a lousy relationship to money. So then we were trying to just simply sort of put me in the whole brain posture. And what came up for me at first is money corrupts, money is fickle, money is superficial, and then I realized, well, if I have this long list of negative attitudes towards money, no matter money doesn't want to be with me. And if you sit in this posture long enough, this kind of old attitude starts to softly dissolve and make room for something else. In this particular case, for me, it looked like that $20 bill was covered with a clear jello that was forming a smile. And that smile sort of reminded me of something that I heard before that says, do you know money is God in action? In other words, it is a neutral thing. It's just sort of what you do with it that makes all the difference. So suddenly, that money was full of promise and had lost all this negative connotation that I had. When I came out of the posture, I felt so much better that I said, so now what? Well, within the next day, a check that I'd been fighting for several weeks suddenly cleared without any problems. And for the rest of the weeks, I got 3 job offers. I have never gotten that many job offers in such a short period of time. Well, if that is not the result that I would like to talk about, I don't know what is.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so beautiful, amazing stories. And I can see, whether it is, the money, financial area of life, or whether we have any kind of fears, or basically you covered all different areas of life that Psyche actually can help. So now can we look into what happens, like how long is a session? Do you do sessions online for your clients, as well as can you tell us a little bit about what is happening inside a session when a client comes to you?
Sure, sure. A session lasts an hour. And within that hour, I have at first a conversation where I ask the client to tell me what issue they would like to address. And sometimes they come with a whole list of issues. And either I can see that they appear to be connected, and there might be an underlying common issue that they have. And I will ask back, could it be that they all come from the same source? And could that same source sound like this? Low self-esteem, for instance, or something like that. If we find that they have a common denominator, then we can look even closer what it is that is the problem, this one single problem, that if we find a belief statement that changes that around, it will affect that entire list. Otherwise, we go one by one of the issues and discover first what is the underlying limiting belief, and then sort of saying, what would you rather believe? And then we implant the new and empowering belief system. Very important is the belief systems are done in a particular form because they need to be formulated in a way that the subconscious can understand it, which means it has to be first person, present tense, affirmative, simple, and emotionally charged. Very important that there's an emotional charge. So it doesn't become an intellectual exercise, it becomes something that affects your entire being. So when the new belief system fulfills all those 5 conditions, we can then implant it. Once it is implanted, I can almost always detect that there is a shift in the client already. They feel better somehow. If we have time, we do several statements in one session. And at the very end, we're asking to create homework. Homework is an action or more actions that support the new belief system in order to, if you want, show the universe that you now believe something differently. Because it is very important that the new belief gets supported by a shift in habits, patterns, and behavior. That then reinforces that new belief and creates a new reality. So that's basically in a nutshell. People often ask how many sessions, or when can I have the next session? There is no written rule. I mean, if you wanted to, you could have the one the very next day. I suggest usually, unless there are special circumstances, no more than 1 session per week, because it takes some time for this new belief to settle down, to become part of the reality of the client. If we overload them, then there's actually sort of a form of stress level showing up because he's trying to do too much at once. However, the first question that we always ask is a question to the superconscious. The superconscious is a notion that there is sort of a level of consciousness that we have access to that sees the larger picture. So If you want to change any belief, the first question is always, is it appropriate for us to change that belief right now? Because for some reason that we may not be aware of, it is actually appropriate for you to hang out with this old belief system a little bit longer. Maybe it triggers some experiences that you learned something from. Maybe you're not quite ready to let go of it. Whatever it is not for us to figure that one out. But it is important that we first get the permission to move on. And then we ask if the subconscious understands the new belief. If not, we can spell it out to the subconscious. There's a separate process that helps the subconscious to get what we're talking about. And the third one is the cooperation of the subconscious to work with us as we're going through the process. So the whole thing is a very safe process, and that's one of the important aspects of it. I have yet to see that somebody gets damaged by this process. But what I have seen is that as we want to implant a belief system, that the superconscious says no. At which point you just drop it, you go somewhere else. You can revisit it a little bit later. This is another thing that I sometimes experience, that before you get to this particular belief statement, some others have to be shifted first, and then you're ready to change that I have as I work with clients.
That is so beautiful. So is it like, do you do sessions online? Can clients approach you through online?
Probably, if it's online, that I would say through Zoom with some interactive tool like Skype, FaceTime, Tango, any of those would work. So video calls are great. Phone calls are sufficient. The amazing thing is that it doesn't matter where you are in the world. We can do this work together at any point and at any part of the world, because we are all connected. And how this exactly works is a mystery to me. I can only tell you that it does work.
Yes, and most of my sessions as well, I have done it online, and it just works like magic. And one of the major things that I like about it is about the muscle testing, right? You can do it, the facilitator can do it for the partner or for the client by themselves, regardless of whether you and I are in person or online. As much as you are on planet Earth, it's working. And,
Yes.
I really love that about PSYCH-K.
Yes.
All right, my dear viewers. So we have the link of Martinu right below the video. You can click on that and you can look at his schedule. You can book a session with him if you would like. In addition to that, we also have a beautiful 10% off discount coupon code for you. So do you want to sum up kind of the different type of challenges that you will be able to help a client with? Let's say viewers who are watching this video might have different types of challenges that they are facing in their lives. Is there any kind of list that you can tell them, okay, I can help you with this, and this?
I wouldn't even know where to begin, because PSYCH-K works in any area of the life that you can conceptualize. So that covers pretty much everything that we are conscious of. Or that, that becomes part of our reality. So whether it's money or health or relationships or well-being of any form, and often these things are intertwined. One reflects in another area of life. I want to remind you of two things. One is that the results might show up in areas that you don't expect at first. For instance, you might ask for a new job and we balance for it. And the next thing you know is like, well, a week passed and I don't have a new job. Well, I have no control over when that new job shows up, because there may have certain things that have to fall into place first before that job can manifest. But what you might discover is that suddenly the relationship to your neighbor that has been on the rocks for the longest starts to improve. And you may not make the connection between your balance and that. But each one of those beliefs is I consider it almost like a root system that has sort of tentacles in all kinds of other areas of life and might manifest over there more easily than in the one that you're focusing on. So I always ask my clients, be as open-minded as you can to see where the changes in your life occur, so that you don't miss the progress that you're already making. By the way, it can also happen that certain issues reappear later on. And then you might feel like, oh my God, it didn't work, or it wear out, or I've lost the belief system. That's not the case. What happens is, as you evolve, you revisit that same issue on a much higher level, and you might want to sort of balance it again. This time, you might sort of make a different connection. You might verbalize the belief system differently. It is never the same. It is always sort of a form of evolvement. So,
Wow. Yep,
yeah.
that's amazing. And I expected it. So I just wanted to clarify that with clients so they know that regardless of what kind of challenges or issues that they are facing in their lives, Psyche always has an answer to it. And of course, Martinu is gonna be able to help you with regardless of what kind of challenges it is. So you can contact him if you would like to have a session. And as I said, your 10% off booking, the coupon code is 0 points, so you can use that as well. Thank you so much, Martinu. It was such an amazing session. I loved the conversation, and of course, anything to do with changing life and changing beliefs is something that I'd love to talk about as well. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Okay,
All
you're
right.
welcome.
Thank you, my dear viewers. I'm going to see you in the next interview. But if you're watching this on YouTube, please do subscribe and please do share this video with as many people as you can. Again, these type of beautiful healing modalities have now given us amazing opportunity to step up in life and change our life as how we want it to be. So if you think any of your friends or family would be benefited with this video, then please do share it with them. Thank you so much for all your support. I'm going to see you next time. Thank you, Martinu. Bye-bye.